In the bustling heart of Abba, amidst the cacophony of traders shouting and the hum of life in the market, a strange story began to unfold. It was the tale of Amaka's Kitchen, the most popular food stall in the market. Every morning, a tantalizing aroma wafted from the corner of the market where Amaka's Kitchen stood, drawing customers from all over the town. Amaka, the woman behind the counter, was a beautiful, soft-spoken figure who always wore a white wrapper tied neatly around her waist and a headscarf that seemed to glow in the sun. Her food was unmatched in taste, especially her banga soup and jollof rice, which left people licking their fingers and coming back for more. She must have brought her recipes from heaven, people would joke, not knowing how close to the truth they were. What made Amaka's Kitchen so intriguing was that no one ever saw her buy ingredients or stock her stall. Yet, every morning, her pots were full, steaming with delicious meals, and her prices were unbelievably cheap. Traders in the market, like Akena, the yam seller, and Ngozi, the fishmonger, often whispered about her. She must have a special farm somewhere, Ngozi said, eyeing Amaka with suspicion. Farm quoi? How can one person cook this much food every day without running out of supplies? Akena retorted. Despite the whispers, no one could resist her food, and her stall was always packed. One day, Chidi, a local butcher known for his sharp wit and even sharper tongue, grew curious. Amaka, how do you manage to cook so much every day? He asked, leaning against her counter. Amaka smiled, her eyes twinkling. God's blessings, she said simply, handing him a steaming plate of jollof rice and fried chicken. Chidi squinted at her. Something about her calm demeanor unsettled him, but the aroma of the food overpowered his thoughts, and he dug in. Meanwhile, strange rumors began to circulate in the market. People claimed to see Amaka wandering around the market late at night, her white wrapper glowing faintly in the dark. Others swore they heard her singing eerie songs when the market was supposed to be empty. One night, curiosity got the better of Akena and Ngozi. Together, they decided to follow Amaka after she closed her stall. Hiding behind stacks of yam and baskets of fish, they watched as Amaka began to pack up for the day. To their shock, she didn't leave the market like the other traders. Instead, she carried her empty pots and walked toward an old, abandoned well at the edge of the market, a place everyone avoided because of the stories of how it had been used to dump bodies during the war. Amaka knelt by the well, her white wrapper glowing brighter under the moonlight. She began to chant softly, and as her voice grew louder, a cold wind swept through the market. Ngozi clutched Akena's arm in fear as they watched Amaka lower a bucket into the well. When she pulled it up, it was full of water, but something was off. The water was dark, almost black, and had a strange, foul smell. Amaka dipped her hand into the water and smiled as though she had found treasure. She filled her pots with the well water and began humming her eerie song again. The next day, the market was as lively as ever, and Amaka's Kitchen was buzzing with customers. Akena and Ngozi exchanged worried glances as they passed her stall, unsure of what to do with what they had seen. Days turned into weeks, and more strange occurrences were reported in the market. People who ate at Amaka's Kitchen began complaining of nightmares. Some even fell mysteriously ill, their skin growing pale and their bodies weak. Chidi, the butcher, was the first to speak up. Something is wrong with that food, he declared, slamming his knife down on his counter. I felt sick after eating her rice yesterday. And what about those dreams? I keep seeing faces. Dead faces. At first, people dismissed Chidi's claims, but as more customers fell ill, suspicion grew. Akena and Ngozi finally told the others what they had seen at the well. That night, a group of traders, led by Chidi, decided to confront Amaka. Armed with lanterns and sticks, they approached her stall just as she was about to leave. Amaka, Chidi called out. She turned to face them, her calm smile unchanged. Yes? Is there a problem? Where do you get the water you use to cook your food? Chidi demanded. Amaka's smile faltered for the first time. What kind of question is that? From the market well, like everyone else, she said. Lie, Ngozi shouted. We saw you taking water from the abandoned well, the one filled with dead bodies. The crowd gasped. Amaka's face darkened, and her eyes began to glow faintly. You shouldn't have spied on me, she said, her voice cold. Before anyone could react, the wind picked up, and Amaka's form began to change. Her beautiful face twisted into something horrifying, a skull-like visage with hollow eyes. Her white wrapper billowed around her as if alive, and her once pleasant aroma was replaced by the stench of decay. The traders screamed and fled in terror, leaving the market empty. The next morning, Amaka's kitchen was gone. All that remained was the abandoned well, which now overflowed with dark, foul-smelling water. To this day, people in Aba speak of Amaka, the ghost who sold food made with the water of the dead. Some say she still wanders the market at night, humming her eerie song and waiting for her next customer. And if you ever find yourself in Aba's market late at night, beware of the glowing figure in white. You might just find yourself on her menu. Amaka's kitchen left the market haunted with fear and unanswered questions. No one dared to approach the abandoned well again. It became a taboo, a cursed site that parents warned their children about. Some traders even moved their stalls further away, claiming they could still hear faint humming at night, drifting through the air like a ghostly warning. The return of the market. Despite their fear, life slowly returned to the market. People still needed to buy and sell to survive. But something had changed. The vibrant energy that once filled the market was now replaced with unease. Ngozi, the fishmonger, had been unable to sleep since that fateful night. Her dreams were filled with strange, unsettling visions of Amaka standing by the well, her glowing eyes fixed on Ngozi as if waiting for her to join her in the darkness. I can't take this anymore, Ngozi confessed to Ekena one morning as they set up their stalls. It feels like she's watching me. Ekena nodded grimly. You're not the only one. Chidi said he saw her reflection in his butcher's knife last night. The traders held a meeting that evening, gathering in the center of the market under the dim light of kerosene lamps. Chidi stood at the front, his voice heavy with determination. This is our market, he said, gripping his machete. We cannot let her spirit haunt us forever. We need to do something about that well. We need to cleanse it and send her back to wherever she came from. The others murmured in agreement, though fear flickered in their eyes. But how do we even begin? Ngozi asked. Do we call a pastor? A native doctor? An elderly woman named Momueda, who sold herbs and had lived in the town longer than anyone else, stepped forward. There's an old ritual, she said, her voice low and steady. It's dangerous, but it can be done. We will need to call upon the spirits of the land and ask them to banish her. But we must be careful. If we anger her spirit, it will only grow stronger. The traders prepared for the ritual with great caution. Mama Ada instructed them to gather specific items: white chalk, palm oil, bitter cola, and a live goat for sacrifice. On the night of the ritual, the traders gathered around the abandoned well, their faces pale in the flickering light of their lanterns. Mama Ada drew sacred symbols around the well with the white chalk, muttering incantations under her breath. The air grew colder with every word she spoke. Place the offerings by the well, she commanded. Ekena carried the palm oil and bitter cola, his hands trembling. Chidi held the goat, its frightened bleating echoing in the stillness. As they performed the ritual, the wind began to howl, and a low, mournful hum filled the air. It was Amaka's song. Suddenly, the ground shook, and the dark water in the well began to bubble. A shadowy figure emerged, its form indistinct but unmistakably Amaka. Her glowing eyes scanned the group, and her voice rang out, cold and accusing. You dare disturb my well? She hissed. You think you can cast me out? The traders froze in fear, but Mama Ada stepped forward, her voice steady. Amaka, spirit of the restless dead, you do not belong here. Return to the place from which you came. Leave this market in peace. Amaka laughed, a chilling sound that made the lanterns flicker. I was wronged in life, she said. And now, you seek to wrong me again. Do you know why I cook with the water of the dead? Do you know what this market did to me?" Amaka's voice grew louder, and the traders listened in horror as she revealed her story. "I was once like you, a trader in this market," she began. "But I was poor and struggling. My food stall was small, and no one bought from me. They said my food wasn't good enough. They mocked me, stole from me, and drove me to ruin." Her form grew clearer, and they could see the pain etched on her face. "One night, desperate and hungry, I begged for help. But instead, I was beaten and thrown into this well by those who thought I was a nuisance. My body was left to rot, but my spirit could not rest. I swore I would return, and I did. I fed you all with my pain, and you loved it." The traders were stunned into silence. Many of them had no idea about the dark history of the market, but some of the older traders exchanged guilty glances, remembering the whispers of a young woman who had vanished years ago. Mama Ada stepped forward, her hands raised. "Amaka, your suffering was great, but this cycle of vengeance must end. We will honor your memory and cleanse this market. You can rest now." Amaka's glowing eyes narrowed. "And if I refuse? Will you force me out like they forced me into the well?" Before Mama Ada could respond, Chidi stepped forward. "We are sorry," he said, his voice trembling. "What happened to you was wrong, and we cannot change it. But please, let us make it right. We will never forget you." Amaka stared at him for a long moment, her form flickering like a dying flame. Finally, she sighed. "If you mean what you say, then honor me. Build a shrine here, so that no one forgets my name." With that, she began to fade, her song growing softer until it was gone. The dark water in the well cleared, and the air grew warm again. The traders kept their promise. They built a small shrine by the well, with Amaka's name engraved on a plaque, "Amaka, the Forgotten One." People came to offer prayers and pour libations, asking for her blessing and forgiveness. The market slowly returned to its former glory, but the story of Amaka was never forgotten. And though her food stall was gone, her spirit remained a part of the market, watching silently as life went on. Months passed, and the shrine to Amaka became a part of the market's identity. Traders and customers alike would stop by to light candles, pour libations, or say a quiet prayer. It was believed that honoring her brought good fortune, and the traders often credited their growing success to her blessing. However, strange occurrences still lingered, keeping Amaka's presence alive in the minds of everyone. Every year, the market held a grand festival to celebrate the end of the rainy season. This year, it was particularly vibrant. The stalls were decorated with colorful fabrics, lanterns hung in the trees, and drummers played lively tunes. Traders sold everything from roasted corn to suya, and children ran around chasing each other with sticks of sugarcane. As the evening wore on, Ngozi, who now sold more fish than ever thanks to her newfound good fortune, decided to offer Amaka a special gift. She prepared a bowl of steaming pepper soup, placed it on a tray, and carried it to the shrine. "Amaka, thank you for blessing this market," Ngozi said, placing the bowl before the plaque. "Please, continue to protect us." She stood there for a moment, her heart heavy with a mixture of gratitude and unease. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she thought she saw movement, a faint glow near the shrine. Startled, she stepped back, but the glow disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. When Ngozi returned to her stall, she found an unexpected sight. Her fish stock, which she had thought was running low, had somehow doubled. Every fish was fresh and glistening, as if just pulled from the water. The whispers began to spread that Amaka was still watching over the market, not as a vengeful ghost, but as a protective spirit. One day, a new trader arrived at the market. Her name was Shanello, a young woman who set up a modest food stall near where Amaka's kitchen used to stand. Shanello was quiet but hard-working, and her food quickly became popular. One evening, after the market had closed, Shanello stayed behind to clean up. As she worked, she felt a strange presence behind her. Turning around, she saw a woman dressed in white, her features faint and glowing softly in the dim light. "Don't be afraid," the figure said. Her voice was calm, almost soothing. Chanella dropped her broom in shock. Who are you?" she stammered. "I am Amaka," the figure said. "I once stood where you now stand. Be kind to those who come to you. Cook with love, not greed, and this market will always prosper." Before Chanella could respond, the figure disappeared, leaving only the faint scent of spices in the air. From that night onward, Chanella made it a tradition to leave a small plate of food at Amaka's shrine every evening. She never told anyone about the encounter, but the market seemed to thrive more than ever. The traders began to notice that the market was free of the petty rivalries and jealousy that had once plagued them. People supported each other, shared resources, and worked together to ensure everyone succeeded. Mama Ada, who had led the ritual to banish Amaka, was often seen sitting by the shrine, whispering softly as if in conversation. When asked, she would only smile and say, "Amaka is happy now. And so are we." Years later, when the market was undergoing renovations to expand, the traders decided to keep the shrine intact, even as new stalls and shops were built around it. During the construction, workers claimed to hear faint humming at night, the same haunting melody that Amaka used to sing. The traders believed it was her way of reminding them of her presence, a gentle warning to never forget the lessons of her story. And so, the market grew and flourished, becoming one of the most famous in the region. Travelers from far and wide came to buy goods, taste the food, and visit the shrine of Amaka, the Forgotten One. Some said her spirit had finally found peace, while others believed she still wandered the market, watching over those who remembered her name. But one thing was certain, no one ever dared take water from the old well again. Years turned into decades, and Amaka's story became a legend, passed down to new generations of traders in the market. The shrine stood untouched, its presence a quiet reminder of the market's dark past and the redemption that followed. But like all stories, the lessons began to fade as the years wore on. One day, a group of young traders, too young to know the full weight of the tale, decided to play a dangerous game. Among them was Ebuka, a boastful man who had grown tired of the reverence people still held for Amaka's shrine. "All these old superstitions," Ebuka scoffed one evening as the market closed. "Ghost this, spirit that. It's just a story to scare people. That shrine is taking up space where a new stall could be." The others laughed nervously, unsure whether to agree. But Ebuka was determined to prove his point. Late that night, he sneaked into the market with a sledgehammer, intent on tearing down the shrine. As his hammer struck the first blow against the wooden structure, a chilling wind swept through the market, extinguishing every lantern. Ebuka froze, his breath visible in the sudden cold. From the darkness came the sound of humming, soft at first, then louder, surrounding him. The melody was unmistakable, Amaka's song. "Who dares disturb my rest?" came a voice, sharp as broken glass. The figure of Amaka emerged from the shadows, her glowing eyes locked on Ebuka. She no longer looked vengeful or sorrowful, she was calm, but there was an unshakable authority in her presence. Ebuka dropped the hammer, trembling. I didn't mean any harm," he stammered. Amaka tilted her head. "You sought to destroy what reminds this market of its history, of its sins. Do you think I will let that happen?" With a wave of her hand, the air grew heavier, and the ground beneath Ebuka seemed to tremble. The young man screamed as he stumbled backward, falling to his knees. "Let this be the last warning," Amaka said, her voice echoing through the empty market. "Respect the dead, and honor the lessons of the past. If you forget, I will return, and this time, there will be no forgiveness." By morning, Ebuka was found unconscious near the shrine, clutching the sledgehammer. When he awoke, he refused to speak of what had happened, but his hair had turned grey overnight. Word spread quickly, and the traders knew without a doubt that Amaka's spirit still watched over the market. From that day on, the shrine became more than just a memorial, it was a place of reverence and gratitude. The traders maintained it with care, ensuring it was always clean and adorned with fresh flowers and offerings. And though Amaka was never seen again, her presence was felt in the warmth of the market's success, in the harmony of the traders who supported one another, and in the occasional faint humming that drifted through the air on quiet nights. The market in Abba became a symbol of resilience, community, and respect for the past. Travelers would visit not just to trade, but to hear the story of the ghost who had taught a town the importance of kindness and remembrance. And so, Amaka's name lived on, not as a vengeful spirit, but as a guardian of the market, her story a timeless reminder that the past, if forgotten, has a way of haunting the present. The market thrived, and so did its people. But no one, not even the boldest among them, ever disturbed the shrine again. We have gotten to the end of this story. If you know you love this video and want to watch more, kindly like and subscribe to this channel to always keep you updated anytime we post a new video and turn on the notification bell. Thanks for watching.